The first light of dawn slipped through the lattice windows of the imperial palace, brushing the silken screens with a pale rose glow. Within the hush of morning, Prince Genji stirred, his robe of soft lavender falling in folds around him. Born the son of the emperor and a woman of modest rank, he carried beauty so radiant that even the moon seemed pale beside him. Yet beneath that beauty rested a loneliness he could never name, the price of perfection in a world woven of duty and desire. The emperor loved Genji's mother more than any other woman in his court. That love stirred envy among the empresses and concubines, and when she died, grief shadowed every corridor. The emperor, unable to bear the resemblance between the child and the lost woman, decided to make Genji a commoner in name only, stripping him of imperial title yet allowing him to remain at court. Thus began the story of the shining prince, moving between splendor and sorrow like a drifting petal upon a stream. From his youth, Genji mastered music, calligraphy, and the delicate arts of conversation. Ladies of the court whispered about his grace, poets tried to capture his beauty in verses of longing. Yet he looked upon them all with a gaze both kind and distant. His heart sought something beyond the elegance of painted fans and perfumed sleeves, something real. One evening, as rain shimmered on the palace gardens, Genji visited Lady Fujitsubo, a new consort to the emperor. The moment he saw her, his breath caught, she was the living image of his dead mother. Fujitsubo greeted him with courtesy, her voice trembling ever so slightly. Their hearts, both burdened with restraint, met in unspoken recognition. What began as innocent admiration soon deepened into forbidden love. For months, they exchanged glances behind screens, words woven in poems left beside incense burners, meanings hidden beneath layers of metaphor. One night, in the stillness of falling rain, Genji crossed the distance between them. Passion and guilt mingled beneath the sound of the storm. Their love, as fleeting as the rain, left a single hidden consequence, a child who would one day rise high in the empire, his true parentage whispered only in silence. But Genji's life could not rest on one secret alone. The court demanded charm, not constancy. He wandered through a maze of romances, each woman a reflection of his restless soul. There was Lady Aoi, proud and proper, his lawful wife, whose cold politeness hid jealousy and pain. There was the Lady of Rokujo, a widow of high birth whose devotion turned fierce, her spirit later haunting those who came too close to him. There was the gentle Yugao, a woman of quiet grace whom Genji loved briefly before death claimed her beneath a pale moon. Haunted by her loss, Genji sought solace in poetry and prayer, but desire, like spring, always returned. The years passed like drifting clouds. He traveled beyond the capital, to the wild coast of Suma, where exile awaited him, punishment for the scandal that had reached the emperor's ears. The court whispered of his arrogance, his secret sins. Yet on that lonely shore, with only the sound of waves and wind, Genji found something like peace. He composed verses to the moon, each line a bridge between memory and regret. One night, a storm rose over the sea. As lightning split the darkness, Genji thought of Fujitsubo, the scent of her robes, the sadness in her eyes. He felt her presence as if she stood beside him, though she was far away. In that vision, he understood, beauty could never be possessed, only remembered. When forgiveness finally came, Genji returned to Kyoto. The capital welcomed him as if a missing season had returned. His charm had grown softer, his beauty deepened by melancholy. Even the emperor's rivals bowed before him. Yet among the glittering halls, he carried an emptiness that no title could fill. Then he met Murasaki, a young girl of gentle spirit and uncanny resemblance to Fujitsubo. Genji, moved by destiny's strange echo, brought her to his home and raised her with care and affection. Years passed, she blossomed into a woman of rare grace. Their bond, once paternal, turned into something deeper, a love built on tenderness and understanding rather than desire alone. In Murasaki, Genji found the calm his restless heart had long sought. They lived in the grand Rokujo palace, surrounded by gardens that mirrored the seasons, plum blossoms in spring, cool lilies in summer, crimson maples in autumn and silent snow in winter. Musicians played under lantern light, poets exchanged verses beside streams. Yet even amid beauty, shadows lingered. The women Genji once loved still haunted him, some in memory, one in spirit. The lady of Rokujo's jealous ghost brought sickness to Murasaki, and Genji, filled with remorse, spent nights burning incense, praying for forgiveness from the unseen world. As years turned, Murasaki's health began to fade. Genji watched helplessly as the brightness of her soul dimmed like a candle before dawn. He would sit beside her, reading old poems aloud, the same poems they had written in happier times. "The dew falls," she whispered once, "and the blossoms scatter. Why must love, too, be so fleeting?" Genji could not answer. When she passed away, silence filled the palace. The shining prince, once surrounded by admiration, was left only with echoes. He withdrew from court, renouncing the vanities of life. The gardens overgrew, the music ceased. He spent his final years gazing toward the distant hills, where the temples stood veiled in mist. The capital moved on, new faces filling the corridors he once graced. Only the wind through the pines seemed to remember his songs. In the last pages of his story, the world without Genji feels hollow, yet the beauty he embodied lingers, like perfume upon a forgotten robe. His descendants, his lovers, his rivals, all drift through the chapters that follow, their lives shaped by the memory of his light. The tale itself becomes a reflection on impermanence, that every love, however radiant, must fade like cherry blossoms after spring. The Tale of Genji is not merely a love story but a meditation on the nature of beauty and loss. Every emotion in Genji's world is expressed through poetry, gesture, and silence. The court, with its elegance and jealousy, becomes a mirror of the human soul, forever reaching for what cannot last. Genji's life is a circle: desire leads to attachment, attachment to suffering, and suffering to wisdom. Yet within that cycle lies grace, the understanding that even sorrow can be beautiful. The novel closes not with triumph but with tranquility, inviting readers to see that all things, even love, are transient. In the twilight of history, the shining prince remains, not as a man of sin or virtue, but as a symbol of the fleeting perfection of life. His world of silken sleeves, moonlit gardens, and whispered poems may have vanished, yet the longing it captured endures. For in every heart that loves and loses, Genji still lives, a glimmer of light upon the endless water.